Tonight on Studio 12, a behind-the-scenes look at Denver's annual Greek festival as they get ready to celebrate 60 years of OPA Pride. And the ultimate battle of civic knowledge comes to the Mile High City. We're taking you inside Denver's Civics Bee. Plus, we'll hear from a Colorado mom who invented an AI tool for people who are neurodivergent and for their caregivers, learn what motivated her to do it. And later, we're talking menopause, breaking down the symptoms many women don't realize are connected to their hormonal changes. Stay with us. Studio 12 starts right now.
From the Five Points Media Center in the heart of Denver, Colorado, this is Studio 12.
Good evening. I'm Bazi Kanani. Ryan is out tonight. Welcome to Studio 12. In our Business of Colorado segment tonight, one Colorado startup is using AI in a very personal way by helping neurodivergent individuals and their families navigate daily challenges with more support. Franny Matthews attended Small Business Week in Loveland recently and got the opportunity to sit down with the founder of Nixit AI, a mom, Kathy Long, to talk about raising 4 neurodivergent children and the tool she designed to help her family. In this interview, Kathy shares how her family's experience inspired the company and why she believes technology should empower people, not overwhelm them.
Kathy, it is so awesome to be able to sit down and talk to you. I think you're doing some really interesting things. So tell us a little bit about you, your background, and the company that you started.
Yeah, so I'm Kathy Long. I have 4 neurodivergent kids, and my background is in SaaS, revenue operations, most recently with startup community. And so I started Nixit AI because that was a true passion of mine. It was a convergence of SaaS, which is technology, as well as the love for my children who are also neurodivergent. So my pathway has been pretty varied over the last 30 plus years, but now I feel like I'm finally home in this business.
So your company name is Nixit AI. Tell me what this platform does.
Yeah, so we like to think of it as a little, right now, if we were to define it in a category, it's an AI executive function companion tool. But we like to think of it less of a dominant energy source for families and more of a companion and a supportive tool. So instead of bolting on features for safety and security, everything is user interface centered in its consent architecture from the beginning. If it reduces cognitive load, we ship it. If it improves joy and resilience, we ship it. Anything else doesn't get shipped.
Let's step back and talk about the definition of the platform and what and who the stakeholders are and the participants and what the objective is.
Yeah, so I'll start with my own story. A couple years ago, my son had come back to live with us. So my son has autism and ADHD, and he came back to live with us for a time because he was really struggling. This was post-pandemic, and he had to go to the doctor's office. And I'm in a meeting, right? So I'm in a corporate meeting. He's blowing me up with texts. The doctor's asking this question that, I have to go get blood work. What do I do, Mom? And I couldn't answer him. I was in a meeting all day. And when I came home, I helped him and we walked through things and it all got resolved. But it was 2 a.m. I couldn't even sleep. I kept thinking, how am I going to keep doing this? And not only that, but at the time, I believe he was 23, I have 3 other kids and they all need me for different things. Life is hard for everybody. Life is hard for people who may be perceived as neuronormative, and life is incredibly hard for people who are neurodivergent. So when I started this company, I started with my own problem and how to solve it for myself. So for me, it's how do I build community into an interface? How do I partner with tools that are meant to support us and not harm us? And then how do I make a safe tool for my entire family to use? I also have a lot of friends, and if I were to think back on the joy of my life, it would be teachers, coaches, professionals, clinicians. And by the time Jack was 18, he had a team of 12 people. We had IEP coordinators. We had everybody who really cared a lot about how Jack's day-to-day was going to go. Once he turned 18, I will say you get this email from the doctor's office stating that, no more can you have any of that information, you need a medical proxy, you need conservatorship, you need all these other tools to be able to support your own children. And it starts from zero again, and you have to develop, relationships with new physicians and new clinicians and new practitioners. So when I was talking to a lot of my practitioner friends, ABA therapists, executive functioning coaches, I started thinking, what if we can have continuity of care? What if within these circles that we could build for the family support system and ecosystem, we can add and start bolting on counselors and executive functioning coaches? And that's when the whole ecosystem started to develop in my head. How we designed the architecture was really around my love for my children. So the love for Jack really shone through. In the beginning, I will say, and this is to every entrepreneur that gets started, write a manifesto. Write what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And for me, I was never willing to sacrifice my children on the altar of technology. And I wanted to make sure that I had some control over the narrative in order to support my children where they needed to be supported. And a lot of what we're building is you don't need to be fixed. Your brain isn't broken. We just need to make the world fit a little bit better for you.
It's fascinating. It would seem that there's probably a little bit of celebration in that when there's small wins, is there celebration included in the platform?
Oh, I love that you said that. That's one of that's our secret sauce. So I have a partner, Justin Fern is our Chief Creative Officer, and we brought him on board specifically because he is obsessed with games. He is a disc golfer, semi-professionally. He is a major gamer. He's had a Dungeons and Dragons group for over 30 years of his childhood, from his childhood friends, and it's what he has been able to bring to the platform has been nothing short of incredible. There is a complex mathematical structure inside of it. So we'll tell you about the guts first. So inside that structure is, mathematical constructs that were supported by psychologists. And so the psychological framework along with the math starts to show pattern detection. And so we start to leverage the LLM or the AI to basically create this ecosystem that rewards the banal. So if you've been, if for an example, if you've gone to yoga 4 weeks in a row, you get a yoga award. And what it does is it starts to really pick up your pattern and bespoke rewards specific only to you and your experiences. So a lot of these rewards aren't rewards that, for instance, Freddie, you might have a different reward than my reward would be. And it basically says, I hear you, I see you, everything you're doing is amazing because you're moving forward, you're taking further steps. And so with this incredibly complex creative that he has helped us build, I really feel like we can follow one of our largest tenets, which is joy is resistance and joy is important.
Well, and joy is everlasting. It has a much longer dopamine tail. That brings me to the question about consent, privacy, autonomy of the individual in this. So I look at it as three stakeholders: the individual, the caregivers and community around, and then the coach. Can you tell me a little bit about how this is architected all along the way to ensure that autonomy and privacy?
Absolutely. We begin with the user. The entire experience is curated at the user level, bringing in that community and the support resources for that user. So from that perspective, we created circles. And so circles are a way to protect each individual community. So you and I might share a circle, and I might share a circle with my coach and my child. I might have a child who has a different coach, and maybe my husband wants to share in that circle with that child. So for each individual part of the triad is a circle representation. So you have the user, you have the caregiver, and caregiver could be defined in so many different ways. I would say my soon-to-be 26-year-old child, he has a girlfriend. That girlfriend is his circle. I have a 23-year-old son, his girlfriend is his circle. My daughter, she doesn't have a partner right now, but eventually one day she may have a circle that includes a partnership. And when my son gets married, he, all of a sudden his new circle is going to be with his in-laws. When he has children, more circles, get to evolve through time. So those circles are representative of the entire architecture and how we protect each user's experience, but we also, consent is the most important thing for us. My information should only go as far as my circle of consent allows.
How have you seen, out of the 50-something individuals that are using the platform now. Have you seen engagement vary? And what is kind of the secret sauce to having them engage and use the platform?
Yeah, so we try to meet everybody where they're at, and in so many ways, this has probably been why it's taken us so long to get this platform up and running. I'll never forget, we created the original, the OG MVP. It was an app because I like apps, and apps made sense to me. We deployed the app, and I was so excited. And Jack sat on my couch, and I said, "What do you think?" And I wanted him to just rave about it, and he says, "I'll never use an app." I was devastated. And I said, "You're never going to use an app? Like, we just put 3 months into this tech. You're never going to use an app?" And he's like, "No, but if you want to text me, I'll work with the text." And I looked at my husband, he looked at me, and I said, "Well, let's move to text." We connected the LLM, so your AI chatbots, and we have multiple chatbots, so we're actually building our own small language model. And we connected it to SMS, and we started testing it out. And Jack started using it. Because, again, it felt like texting mom. And it became something where we've iterated a few times with how that SMS would work. But, I use the SMS. So, like, even for example, yesterday I was looking over my schedule and I texted Nixit and I said, I have this appointment at 9 and this appointment at 11 and this appointment at 1. How am I going to eat lunch? Nixit responds to me, "You probably have a window between 10 and 11 to eat lunch." And I was like, great. And then I can go into the platform because I like apps. And I can see in the platform that this is my schedule for today, and that's how I'm going to get everything done that day. So for the mom, you've got the app. For the practitioner, you've got the web portal, where they can see their whole command center. For the child, you have SMS. Jack never has to go into any app. He can see what mom has helped to schedule. He can see the breakdown of tasks. He can see everything he can just by asking the app, and the app will respond to him via text.
What's this look like in 5 years? I know you've got a vision. What would be nirvana for you in 5 years on where Nixit is?
Oof, that is a loaded question for this the big heart of mine. I would love to bring joy to the neurodivergent community. I would love, again, we could talk about like the revenue would be X and we would, amplify to the global community and we would find our nation X. But I really, really think, and my husband and I both agree, like when we were thinking of burn the boats, quit our jobs, let's go forward, it was how do we save lives? Like for me, the win is saving lives. The win is improving the lives. And that's when we think, when you look at your customer success metrics and you look at your ROI, for us, if we can get Jimmy to school on time, and if we can support Jimmy going to the doctor and going to the dentist for the first time without being, in fear of the dentist, that's how we've won. So mine is very intangible. Like it's over here. It's that somebody coming up to me saying that it's changed their lives, it's improved their outcomes, they're able to go to work every day, they're a lot less depressed. I've won the lottery if I can make that happen. But yeah, I would love to see this in a global perspective. I'd love to support, when my parents were aging and going through some of their own medical conditions, it was something that I would have loved to have access to support with their physicians, and also including circles with my own sister going through her medical issues. How can I help her more? So for me, it's amplifying the extension of our circles. It's improving it into globalization and helping other countries who may not see neurodivergence in the same way that we see it, and we can reach people who are currently being shamed or currently being told they're broken, and to let them know that somebody's there to help them.
Kathy, it has been a pleasure to talk to you. This is such an interesting and uplifting conversation. And I want to tell you that I have talked to a lot of funders, and one of the things that is consistent among funders is that they're looking for founders that feel like they were put on this earth to do what they're doing. And that's what I hear with you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Funding for the Business of Colorado on PBS 12 is provided in part by Collegiate Peaks Bank, Ibotta, and from the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Kathy says Nixit AI is still growing, but she says at the heart of it all, people don't need to be fixed. They just need support systems that help them thrive. For more interviews from Small Business Week with Franny, stay tuned for future episodes of Studio 12, or you can watch them on our PBS 12 YouTube channel. For 6 decades, Denver's Greek Festival has been sharing Greek culture, traditions, and hospitality with our local communities, becoming one of Colorado's longest-running cultural festivals. And this year, the 60th annual Denver Greek Festival returns with more food stations, faster service, and more cultural offerings that promise to make your Greek Fest experience even more magical.
Our community started this as a little bazaar in 1964 as a fundraiser for the church. And it has just grown. You know, you heard we had 40,000 people attend the festival last year. And so that really means that this festival is resonating with the community and people love to celebrate Greek culture and Greek heritage.
Our goal for the festival this year, it is our 60th year, but it was more important, number one, to make sure that it's safe, considering everything that's going on. Making sure that we didn't raise the prices this year was very, very important, considering what's going on with the economy. And then making sure that everybody who comes to the festival, if they want to get lucamadas, they'll get lucamadas. If they want to get calamari, they'll get calamari. So we more than increased our footprint by about 50 to 60%, and then more than tripled the equipment that we needed for this year over last year. So we should be able to cook calamari in 1.5 to 2 minutes instead of 5.5 minutes. We're going to have 3 different gyro booths because gyros are the most popular. We doubled the production for souvlaki. So, and then our goal is to triple the amount of chicken and potatoes we get out because that's everybody's favorite. So we just quadrupled the amount of food we're going to put out and how fast we can do it. The food's got to taste better this year. That was our priority. It was good last year, it's got to be great this year. We want everybody, as soon as they pay for their food, that they get their food immediately. And the lines are moving. We've got to make sure, our goal is to make sure the lines are moving. The church invested a lot of money for 14 new fryers, 14 flat tops, a couple of charbroilers, 22 stainless steel tables, warmers. There's a lot of new equipment that should make everything move smoother. The other thing we're doing is we're trying to get everybody to buy their tickets online so we can communicate with them throughout the festival. If things get too sold out on Friday, then we'll try to move people to Saturday and Sunday so it's not so crowded like it was last year.
We have a word, it's called philoxenia, which means hospitality. We love to feed people, we love to share. That's why when you go to, a Greek's house, you will not leave hungry. You will be fed, you will be taken care of.
The most rewarding part of this whole thing is working with all the different group chairs from each booth and working with all the volunteers and how much everybody cares. If you go in there and look at all the ladies cooking this morning, it's actually fun and they're having a lot of fun and they're enjoying it. They work hard. So it's how passionate everybody is about making the church successful and making the festival successful.
We open up our cathedral for church tours. We also have a beautiful choir that sings Orthodox hymns during the festival. And so you can go in there and learn all about the beautiful iconography, as well as listen to liturgical music and really connect with Orthodoxy.
So we're working on getting everybody in the crowd to dance this year. It's very important. That was the stuff I remember when I was a young kid that made it fun and memorable.
The kids absolutely love dancing. They put their heart and soul into it. They love performing on the stage, and they love learning the dances and learning the culture, because at weddings, at baptisms, and at all of the Greek celebrations or just life celebrations, we dance and we're happy.
This year, we're going to try the indoor dining with air conditioning, especially for some of the older people who it's too hot outside. We're going to do Taste of Greece inside, and we're calling it the Opa Ballroom. We're setting up an outdoor bar in the courtyard like it used to be 20 years ago. So we're excited about having that. And then on the north side of the cathedral, in the parking lot, we're calling it Christina's Placa. There's going to be a bunch of vendors there. There's going to be a second Euro booth, Leukomatis booth, Metaxa booth, and hopefully that'll spread out the crowds and everybody can get the food that they want and the drinks that they want.
This year we're really focused on trying to get people to utilize ride sharing. We've got Uber and Lyft dedicated drop-off zones right in front of the Hellenic Community Center. Join us for the 60th annual Denver Greek Festival, June 5th, 6th, and 7th on the grounds of the Assumption Greek Orthodox Cathedral. It's an amazing celebration of Greek culture, heritage, and we invite everybody to come join us.
Whether you're there for the food, the dancing, or just the warm Greek hospitality, Greek Fest is a fun weekend for the whole family. The festival runs June 5th through June 7th, and you can go to thegreekfestival.com for more information. Menopause is something every woman will experience, but for many, the conversation around it still feels confusing, isolating, or even taboo. And while hot flashes may be the symptom that most people recognize, experts say hormonal changes during perimenopause and menopause can affect nearly every part of a woman's health, from anxiety and brain fog to sleep issues and weight gain. Kyle Dyer sits down with Dr. Katie Rustici to break down what women should know about the realities of menopause and why so many symptoms often go overlooked, and how treatment options have evolved in recent years.
The changes that come for women as we get older, perimenopause beginning in our 40s and menopause following in our 50s, are not being talked about enough. And that really should change because many women don't realize there are options that can help with the brain fog, the anxiety, sleep disruption, weight gain, night sweats, mood changes, all of that come with hormonal shifts. Doctors say these symptoms are treatable and women do not simply have to tough it out. And one of those doctors is Dr. Katie Rustici, who is a senior director with Intermountain Health and Reproductive Health and all things, thankfully, menopause.
Yes, thank you so much for having me today. This is one of my most favorite topics to discuss, and it's exactly what you said. We have for many, many years been downplaying the impact of perimenopause and menopause as a healthcare system. The average age of menopause in the United States is 51.
Okay.
But that's an average, right? So there can be women who go through menopause as defined by a year from your last menstrual period, much earlier, sometimes even in their 30s, and women who go through this much later, sometimes in their 50s and even into their early 60s. So it really is a spectrum. Perimenopause can last up to 10 years before that final menstrual period, which that's another piece of this, where in your 40s, when this is statistically most likely to be happening, there are a lot of women who are going through career changes, high stress jobs, children who are getting older, right, having to fund college, changes in relationships, friendships, things like that can all add stress, and I think can make it a lot harder to recognize what these symptoms really are.
What are some of the symptoms in that first phase of perimenopause? Because there are two, right?
Yes. There's the part toward the end where women are starting to skip periods and having those hot flashes and night sweats, and I think that's what we all consider to be more traditional perimenopause. But the earlier phase of perimenopause really can be characterized by feeling like you're almost a teenager again. Acne, mood changes, bloating, weight gain, feeling all of those PMS type symptoms is really characteristic and classic for that early phase of perimenopause. And that can feel really frustrating, right? You've gone through your whole reproductive life and you're pretty used to what your cycles are like. And then you get into this period of time where it almost feels like you don't have control over your body anymore. It's just doing all of these crazy things. And what we have learned over the past 15 or 20 years is that actually there are things we can do. And so really hearing our patients, understanding what they're going through, and then helping to offer solutions, I think is so important.
Okay, so when does the hormone replacement therapy conversation happen? In perimenopause or after that 10 years when the menopause sits in? And menopause means you're no longer having any periods, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Over the last 20 years or so, our understanding of what hormone replacement therapy can offer for women in the earlier phase of perimenopause, when they're still having periods, really has expanded quite a bit. And we now recognize that some of these hormones really can have a tremendous impact for women, even if they are still having spontaneous periods. So definitely something to consider, talk with your doctor about, because there are treatment options.
Why is there such confusion over what hormone replacement therapy is? And some people just stay away and some people call as soon as they can.
Yeah. So a study came out in 2002 called the WHI study. At the time that study came out, doctors said, enough, we're stopping this, there's too much risk, and everyone was taken off their hormones. So a lot of the concern around hormones really stems from that study that came out and really kind of turned the table on how we were treating women with hormones. Unfortunately, it turns out on reevaluation of that data that came from that study, that wasn't the whole story. So because we were using synthetic hormones and because we were starting women on them much later in life, that really skewed the data. So we found that the women who were getting these cardiovascular issues and some of the increase in breast cancer really stemmed from being older. So subsequent data really showed that if we were starting women on hormones around their late 40s, early 50s, in fact, that got rid of all of the cardiovascular increased risk. So we really have kind of flipped our thinking on this and are much more readily offering hormones to women. That really, though, explains why we have two subsets of patients, some that really feel like these hormones are pretty risky and some that are like, based on newer data, we should be offering.
So talk to your doctor, right? If you do have a history of cardiovascular or any breast cancer, talk with your doctor. Everyone is so different. I want to talk about what is showing these positive impacts. Estrogen is the big thing that we're losing, right, as we age. And estrogen has a really important protective factor for many different areas of our body.
Estrogen does have protective effects throughout your body. There are demonstrated protective effects on the cardiovascular system, on the brain and neurologic system, certainly on your bones. We know that estrogen plays a tremendous role in maintaining bone health.
But something great with Intermountain Health is you have now expanded care to have menopause specialists who can meet one-on-one with patients. Why? How do you find these people?
Yeah, great question. So we realized at Intermountain maybe about 5 years ago or so that we had a disconnect in what we could offer women for menopause care. As the data has shifted, we've got these physicians and APPs out there who are very well-meaning, are telling patients what they learned. And it turns out that the data has really evolved. And so being able to keep pace with that and have providers that are really well-versed in what the data shows today, not what it showed 10 or 15 years ago, but what does it show today so that we can meet patients where they are. I think the message really should be one of hope. We've got so many options to treat women, and we've spent a lot of time talking today about hormones, but there is a whole host of non-hormonal treatment options. So if we've got patients who maybe have breast cancer or who have had a cardiovascular event and they really still want treatment for these things, absolutely come in. We have got options that are hormones. We've got options that are not hormones. There's actually some really good options nowadays that are non-hormonal. And so really everyone should have an opportunity to talk about their symptoms, understand what the treatment options are, and then have access to those options. There is a website through the Menopause Society where you can search for menopause certified practitioners in your area or through your insurance. So this is a database where they keep tabs on all the people who have passed the certification exam and who have this additional expertise. Finding someone on that list to see specifically for these symptoms is my best advice. I am really optimistic about where we are in women's health right now. I think 20 years ago, this was a little bit more hopeless, right? It was, we can't treat you with hormones because they're dangerous, and so you're just going to have to live through this. This is a new day, right? We have really come around to understand so much more about the impact of hormones and their ability to help treat women through this midlife period of time, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s. And so I'm really, really excited about where we are right now and would just absolutely offer hope to women. If you're having symptoms, if you're struggling, make an appointment, come in, let us help you.
Okay. Dr. Katie, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Rustici says access to education, care, and open conversations about menopause can help women feel healthier, more informed, and better supported through every stage of the journey. To learn more about menopause and to find a healthcare provider, you can visit menopause.org. If you've ever wondered who the next generation of civic leaders in Colorado could be, all you have to do is experience a Civics Bee competition in action. Regional competitions are happening across our state right now. And this week, we're in Denver, where middle school students compete to answer questions about government, history, and civic responsibility. Take a look.
The National Civics Bee promotes civic knowledge and participation across the country by encouraging middle schoolers to engage in their communities and follow their civic passions.
Inside the Jones Theater at the Denver Center for Performing Arts, middle school students are thinking critically about government, community, and the issues impacting everyday life. But before the questions begin, comes the challenge of battling the nerves.
I'm nervous because I kind of don't like public speaking, but I'm really excited to do this.
Yes, I am very nervous right now.
Me too.
Mostly getting through the test questions and then having to be asked questions like in front of a panel. That just sounds kind of really scary right now.
Just nervous that I'm gonna mess up or something.
I think I'm nervous about the testing because we all do like iPads and our school doesn't do that. We do textbooks and like paper. So I'm kind of nervous about that.
I just think about positive things and remember that I've studied and I feel prepared.
Just take deep breaths and remember what I'm saying.
And for many of the students here, the work started long before competition day.
I made a bunch of Kahoots based on like articles and then just played those over and over again.
Got this like really big study guide and I printed it out and there was like a ton of key ideas, primary sources, and activities that you could look at in that study guide.
Also like Quizlet, kind of used some resources on that to help like condense it all.
AI sources like just generate me like some quizzes on it, like prepare me for this. So that was kind of what studying looked like.
I've just always loved history and I felt like this would be a very fun thing to do. And I really love looking at our country and seeing what could be improved.
Students researched real problems facing their communities, then proposed solutions through essays and live competition rounds.
My paper about judicial bias due to re-election campaigns, which is when they add length to sentencing because they want to appear tougher on crime to the people.
Student Sydney focused her project on fentanyl overdoses in public schools.
It was just something that I was interested in. I really wanted to do something that was about students and like kids my age.
Mine's about road safety, so like intersections where the visual is low, adding convex mirrors to like get a different angle on the situation kind of.
Mine was on teen suicide and I wanted to start bullying assemblies and suicide assemblies, raising awareness for this because I think it's a major problem that our country faces. I just met a lot of people who have experienced like suicidal thoughts and that's just really hard for like me to hear for them and I can only imagine how hard that is to go through.
For these students, civics is more than memorizing facts about government. It's about learning how to make change.
Civics means to me standing up for against injustice and doing what's right and to play your part in the country.
I really love looking at our country and seeing what could be improved.
The competition is organized nationally through the Daniels Fund and local chambers of commerce, including the Denver Metro Chamber.
Thank you all for your participation today. The Denver Metro Chamber is honored to be part of the National Civics Bee.
Organizers say civic education helps strengthen communities far beyond the classroom.
We think that civics education is important for our communities, and getting students involved at an early age is critical to our functioning societies, our functioning democracy.
Leaders at the Denver Metro Chamber say understanding how government and communities work together also impacts the future workforce and economy.
Having a more engaged community, a more knowledgeable community about how it works from a young age will help fuel their knowledge and fuel our community for decades to come.
Considering these students' age, organizers say the level of thought and preparation is already impressive.
Only in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, how they're able to think about the big picture and then narrow down their community and work together, it's really inspiring, and I think we're in good hands.
That preparation showed up everywhere, from study guides and mock questions to late nights spent reviewing history, policy, and current events.
I'm very proud of my daughter, Lottie. She's worked very hard to get to this point. I know she worked on her essay for many hours, and she even prepared for this competition by studying probably 40 hours, 50 hours. And I'm amazed at how confident she is in herself already at this age.
It was really fun, but answering the questions were kind of scary because my heart was pounding the entire time.
Students also brought deeply personal passions into the competition. 8th grader Harrison focused his essay on protecting America's national parks, inspired by years spent visiting them with his family.
The main point of my essay was that national parks are underfunded, and that their underfunding means that they have to cut many essential services, and that we're not able to protect it for the next couple of generations. I've been to every national park. It takes a lot of traveling and a lot of time. We just had a great time doing it.
For organizers, that passion and curiosity is exactly the goal. Not just teaching students how government works, but helping them believe that they can shape what comes next.
I think that citizens should always understand what's going on, and to understand it, they have to get involved as well. And you don't just walk in the door, you have to ask why. You have to ask those important questions to be involved. And I think that always being a lifelong learner puts you in the driver's seat to lead by example and to inspire others to do the same.
After multiple rounds of competition, we have a winner. Harrison, the 8th grader from Kent, Denver, took home first place and a $2,500 prize, earning a spot at the Colorado State Finals this summer.
Congratulations to all the contestants, our 3 winners. We're gonna see you guys at the state competition. I cannot wait, I'm so invested now. I'm gonna be rooting for you guys all the way.
It felt pretty great. I felt quite nervous up there, but I did it and I thought I did a pretty good job.
But every student who stepped on the stage still walked away with something valuable, a deeper understanding that their voices can make a difference.
My advice would be to care. Be involved, feel the connection, feel that you have something to offer and offer it.
The state finals will be held later this summer, with top students competing for a chance to advance to the national championship in Washington, D.C. For PBS 12, I'm Erica McClarity.
Support for the Civics Bee is brought to you in part by the Daniels Fund in commemoration of America's 250th and Colorado's 150th anniversary.
Denver is just one of the many communities competing in our state's regional Civics Bee competitions. We'll feature more of these Civic Bees in the coming weeks, right here on Studio 12. The top 3 students from each regional bee will go on to compete at the state Civics Bee. That's on July 24th at the Cable Center on the DU campus. We're coming out of a stretch where the demand for psychiatric support among students often peaks, especially with the pressures that come at the end of the school year. And now, as routines shift into summer, new stressors can emerge. Tonight on Colorado Inside Out, the panel takes a closer look, not only at youth mental health, but also at youth violence, 2 deeply connected issues that are shaping families, schools, and communities across Colorado. It's a conversation with lots of urgency. Let's check in now with Kyle Dyer.
Hey, Bazzi. One thing Colorado has to figure out is how to help keep our kids safe, either by working together to curb youth violence or supporting the growing number of children and teens who are struggling with mental health issues. Here's a listen to a conversation we had around the table in Colorado Inside Out. You know, an emerging issue this season is youth mental health. Children's Hospital Colorado and also Healthier Colorado host a forum Thursday night for the Democratic candidates for governor. In a Colorado Sun article this week, a health provider warned that if nothing changes, we will lose this generation. And then in Denver, concerns about the well-being of young people has surfaced again in a tragic way with the shooting death of a 14-year-old boy, allegedly by another boy at a rec center. Eric, there does seem to be this growing pressure on leaders to address what young people are facing these days.
If there were easy answers, we wouldn't be having the conversation because we would have put those answers in place. But this is a generation, that obviously shaped by COVID, but that was a cataclysmic kind of experience of isolation for this generation, shaped by the national political tone, shaped by the devices everyone carries in their hands, shaped by artificial intelligence and the unknown of what that is going to do, shaped by this broad sense that they're not going to have it as easy or as well as preceding generations, as my generation or even the next generation or two after me. So again, no easy answers, but important questions and good for Children's Hospital and so many other entities for really engaging it, and hopefully the next governor can come up with, if not complete answers, at least steps in the right direction.
You know, our foundation supports a lot of organizations throughout the state that support, youth, and being in the philanthropic sector, that is a big issue. So I have been, reaching out to folks and seeing how this issue is playing out throughout the state. I was in Alamosa last week and was talking to some youth serving organizations about this issue as well. And I think that as we move forward, how is society also changing our values and our norms to support them differently also? Are we just putting more money, into a system without really thinking about what are the social norms that we're also looking to change? Are there any new values that we have to adopt along this way? Or, or are we just putting money into something like we did with the homeless situation, and you're putting in more money, you're not having a conclusion. The other thing also is that a lot of these advertisements that you're hearing, because social media is also, you're hearing about, if you're experiencing this, call here. A lot of those are for-profit companies backed up by venture capitalism. And so my thing is, I'm really concerned about, will capitalism drive how mental health services then are provided and are seen? Or is it society, us, that we have to go ahead and drive that narrative, as opposed to these venture capital firms that are supporting these types of mental health services?
Okay, and Christy, you sit on the State Board of Education. You homeschool a high schooler and a middle schooler. What do you hear? What do you think should happen to address these problems that our kids are facing?
I mean, it's definitely a very multifaceted issue, and it is facing the young generation. And I think, people often say homeschoolers are isolated, right? And so we work to get our kids out in groups and join and have a community and go participate in debate and dance and hockey and all these things my kids do. But I think what can be forgotten in today's generation is you can be isolated even in a crowd. And devices add to that. And so on the state board, we actually recently listened to Angela Duckworth. She's written a book that's coming out. It's called Grit. And it does talk about the value of resilience and making you a successful person. So I think that's a really good thing to look into. But also she talked about devices in schools and sort of the hesitation that some schools have, high school level specifically, and like prohibiting kids from using them, or like they have a rule in name only, but they don't really enforce the no devices in class. And I think the schools that do enforce it have seen a giant jump, not only in academic achievement, but also just how those kids are going about their day-to-day lives, their relationships with each other, the community building. I think another piece, when you look at the mental health numbers across the nation, mental health among adults in Colorado is 46th to 48th in the nation, depending on the year. Until we help adults and families achieve a level of mental health, of course, our kids are going to slip too. So I think part of it is really rebuilding the family and getting adults the mental health services they need too, so they can help their kids.
Okay, Patty.
Well, let's go to the rec center issue in
Yeah.
Denver. So you have kids that might not have families. They might have broken families right now, or they have families that are parents that are working. So rec centers have become such an important place for community, for blowing off steam, for gathering. You know, we've got the issue on the pools. The city has decided, you know, pools are essential. It's not like they're a luxury, because you need a place for kids to gather and be, and ideally talk to their peers so that they're not so isolated. But the tragedy at the Montbello Rec Center last week, where a 14-year-old who was standing up for his little brother and winds up getting shot and killed by another minor, is horrifying. They're getting into what caused it. That rec center is closed indefinitely. And Parks and Rec was supposed to, on Wednesday, launch a survey looking at what we want out of our rec centers for the next 20 to 30 years. I would say, among other things, we want safe havens that are productive for kids. And right now, that survey's off the books. They're trying to rethink what they're going to do because of the dangers in the rec centers.
Every Colorado Inside Out, we have 4 topics. That was just one of them. And you can watch our full conversation on Colorado Inside Out by checking out our YouTube channel or the PBS Passport app or the PBS 12 website. And if you're into podcasts, we're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now, later this week, we will have a new show with reaction to the gubernatorial debates and a lot of other Colorado happenings. So join us this Friday at 8 right here on PBS 12.
Tonight, we're getting our hands dirty with Denver Urban Gardens by digging into the surprising world of worms. PBS 12's Erica McClarity and her daughter, Charlie, got a hands-on lesson in how red wiggler worms can turn everyday food scraps into nutrient-rich compost. Take a look.
I would not live in this.
What if something small
and a little wiggly
could make a big difference? We're here with Denver Urban Gardens, learning how to make nutrient-rich compost that you could do right at home.
Using worm bins.
Yes, and we're learning not only how to make the worm bins, but also why worms
are the superheroes
of nutrient-rich compost. Joining us today is Christy from Denver Urban Gardens to teach Charlie and her bestie Murray how to make their own worm bin. So we start with a 10-gallon tote. What do you see in this bin?
Holes.
Holes. Why do we have holes in the bin?
For like air to get in.
You got it, Charlie, for air. Our worms are living creatures, so we're gonna build them a really happy home so that they can turn our food scraps into compost. We've got some paper bags, I've got a cardboard drink tray, and then some compostable packaging that we can put in our worm bin. The other thing that we use for bedding is
leaves.
Leaves. When do leaves fall to the ground?
In fall.
In the fall, exactly. So these are all free materials that we can get from our very own home and use them for bedding. So let's start tearing some stuff up. You want to take a napkin, Charlie? You grab that one, Marie, and let's put it into this bin. All right, throw it in here. This will be our bucket. And we'll just make it into little pieces. Okay, what else can we put in there? Let's get some newspaper. Okay, so why don't we put some gloves on, because we're gonna crumble up these leaves. Let's put them in the bin here. Shake, shake, shake. Now get in there with your hands and crumple up those leaves. You guys ready to add some water?
Yeah.
Let's go outside.
Okay.
Making a going sound. Do you guys want to add your leaves into that bin? So rather than sending all this great organic material to the landfill, we're going to turn it into compost.
The worms will go in there.
They're going to go in there. But first, we're going to set up their home. This looks pretty wet, doesn't it? Can worms swim?
No.
No, you're right.
This looks like a good worm home.
What do you think, Murray?
Yeah. I would not live in this.
Why?
It's soggy and wet. I don't think Murray wants to live in newspaper. It might be cold.
Okay, so we're back inside. Are you guys ready to meet our office worm bin?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the lid that we have. Notice that it's not closed. Why do we think that might be?
So the worms can breathe more?
You're so smart. Yes, exactly, so the worms can breathe. So we always want to leave the lid a little bit open so that the worms have lots of airflow. Do you think worms can see? Do they have eyeballs? No, you're right. But they do detect light. So these are really special worms. These are composting worms. They're called red wigglers. And they live in the leaf litter. They're a decomposer. So that's why they work really well for home composting. So if we keep the lid ajar, they can see the light and then they know where their home is. Otherwise, if it was all completely dark,
it would be lost.
They would be so lost. They'd be so confused. So that's our lid. Okay. This is their air conditioning. So when we have a bin, we use the spray bottle to keep the paper nice and moist. And then that way, when it evaporates, it acts like a little cooling system so that our worms don't get too hot or too cold. So these worms are gonna live nice and happy, either indoors in our air conditioning, in our garages, maybe they could live in our basement. And then if we pull all of this bedding aside, where do you think we'll find the worms?
The bottom?
At the bottom, exactly. The worms like to live really close to where their food is. They also don't like the light. So if we were to pick some of these guys up and scoop them up, they're gonna try to hide from the light. Do you see all the little babies? Yeah. They're being so busy turning all of our kitchen scraps, everything that we're putting into the bin, into soil, into compost.
Now, what do these worms eat?
That is such a good question.
Delicious. I want to eat this so bad.
So we've got a banana peel. We've got some avocado shells. I've got half-eaten apple core, some mushy lettuce, and then lots and lots of tea. I drink a lot of tea. But if you drink coffee, you guys don't drink coffee, do you?
Coffee? I actually do have coffee.
The worms love coffee.
Do they eat like the coffee grounds?
They do eat the coffee grounds. So what do you think? These are really small worms. Do you think they're gonna be able to eat this big banana peel?
Should we peel it up into pieces?
Yes, but our worms are vegan, so they don't like to eat meat, fat, cheese, or dairy. They just like to eat vegetable scraps. But they can also eat paper products. So basically, if it comes from the earth, it can go back to the earth.
Oh, that's smart.
You guys are like a sous chef for the worms. So we're gonna give the worms a little bit of eggshells, but see how it's these big pieces here?
Yeah.
This is gonna be really hard for them to break down. So when we put eggshells in, we wanna grind them really fine. So you can use a mortar and pestle, or you can put them in your blender. Do you think that worms have teeth? No, they don't.
Do they just like swallow it whole?
So they have a really, really basic digestive system. So we give them these eggshells so that they have a little bit of grit that helps their gizzard move along their food. All right, so a worm's favorite food. It's avocado.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
So when we feed the worms, we want to put the food at the very, very bottom. So let's move all of this bedding out of the way. This is the gooey part. Yay, hungry, hungry worms. These worms are doing a great ecological service and they're turning that food into compost. So one day, this whole bin is gonna be just worm castings. Look at that. Fresh compost, ready to go into our soils so that we can grow some healthy food. It's good for our plants, it's good for our planet.
It's like recycling.
It is recycling. We are recycling organic material.
How do you know if your worms are happy?
Well, there's a couple ways to tell. First of all, if they're living in the bottom, then they're happy. If you come and you see your worms trying to crawl away, they're looking for a better place to live. Okay. Do we want to collect some worms from here?
Yes.
Let's do it. How do you think we get the worms out?
Do you just dig it and get them all out?
We can.
Or do you have like some sort of...
We've got a special tool. So this is a sifter, a soil sifter, and when I want to collect my worms, I'm going to keep all of this bedding, and that'll just go into the old bed. We'll give them a new place to live. But say we wanted to harvest these guys. So we can put some of this stuff on here, and then we would just shake it up. See how all the castings are coming out the bottom? You're gonna keep doing that until all that's left in here is worms. But I think for today, we're just gonna go worm hunting.
So just dig in.
Let's dig in there and find them.
Going. Oh yeah, this guy is Bob.
Bob the composting worm.
And this is Timothy. Timmy D special. Oh, they're so cute. Look at them. DFS. What should this guy be named? Tony. Tony. Do you want some more worms, Murray? Sure. Oh, he's going so fast. Speedo. That's Speedo. Speedo Dorito.
Sanic.
Compost Club. Look how cute he is.
All right, so we got our finished worm bin.
I'll go into the bin.
And we're gonna put a brick or a block, something so that the bin is lifted up off of the ground. What would happen if we put it right flat on the ground?
Oh, the holes might not be able to lose too much water if there's too much water.
Exactly. Do you want to put your worms in their new home?
Can I grab them one at a time or just pour?
Just dump them in there.
Christy also said that this is perfect if you live in an apartment or you don't have a backyard. They even have a worm bin at their office, which is pretty cool. Anyway, thanks so much for learning today.
You're welcome.
Yes. And if you want to see more workshops with Doug, you just go to dug.org.
Which one's Bob again?
For more information on worm bin workshops and community garden programs you can get involved in, visit Denver Urban Gardens at dug.org. Thanks for joining us tonight. Next week on Studio 12, we have a special presentation that you won't want to miss. It's The Family Beat with Erica, and it includes some great ideas for what to do with your family this summer. I'm Bazi Kanani. Have a great week.